Buying a new construction house in San Antonio sounds like it should be a simple task, but if you don't know the processes and steps ahead of time, it can feel very overwhelming. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the home buying process for a new construction house, step by step, everything you need to know from buying it from a dirt build all the way to a completed product, which is a house for you guys to move into at the end of this process. So stick around. I'm going to be sharing a lot of valuable information. We're going to be touching on a number of things, whether it's an inventory home or, like I just mentioned, a dirt build, meaning you're finding the raw land and designing every aspect of the house. So with that in mind, if we haven't met yet, my name is Brock.Bremmer and I sell new construction homes all over San Antonio and the surrounding area. If you happen to have any questions about the new construction process, or if you would like help finding a new construction house for you and your family, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I've got all of my contact information down below here, and I would love to be of service and help you guys out however that may look for you and your situation there. So again, don't hesitate to reach out to. But in this video, we've got a lot to get to, so I'm going to cut right to the chase, and we're going to move right on into step number one here, which is actually to start working with a real estate agent before you go visit the builders for the very first time. And there's a few reasons for this here. One of the biggest reasons is that each of these builders inside of the communities, they do have a sales office, and those sales offices are staffed with, well, sales representatives. Well, these sales representatives will be assisting us along the way throughout buying a new construction house. They'll help us look at the homes and the available lots and give us all of the good information and details that we need to know so that we are the most informed about buying a house. However, at the end of the day, these sales reps don't have your best interest in mind because, well, they work for the builder themselves. So they have to have the builder's best interest in mind. So I just want you guys to kind of keep that on top of your mind whenever you're out there looking at these new build homes. I mean, the sales reps, yes, they are knowledgeable. They are very helpful. But at the end of the day, they do have to look out for the builder because the builder pays their paycheck or gives them their paycheck at the end of the week. So hiring a real estate agent is definitely in your best interest for a few reasons. One, we as real estate agents have a fiduciary obligation to have your best interest in mind. So having a realtor guarantees that you have someone on your side to help keep your best interest in mind and look out for you guys and make sure that everything is taken care of and that you guys aren't being taken advantage of. So that is one of the biggest reasons to hire a real estate agent before you go look at these new construction homes. Outside of that, as real estate agents, we have access to every single builder, every single home available for sale in the local market. So we are able to help you compare and contrast the builders, make recommendations based on your needs and desires for a house, and really just kind of help guide you through that entire process. And one of those things that we do help guide you through is, of course, the negotiations, right? A lot of builders talk about incentives and price drops and all of the fancy stuff, but having a knowledgeable, real estate agent in the new construction space is the most advantageous for you guys because you have someone on your side that knows the new construction space very well, right? We're able to help negotiate those terms, all the incentives, all of the fun stuff, and really good things to help lower your out-of-pocket expenses and review those contracts to make sure all of those things are in there. So it's very important to, one, not only have these things, negotiated and verbally and, agreed to, but it's another thing to make sure it's all in the contract. Everything is, good to go and that you guys aren't being taken advantage of. And at the end of the day, having a real estate agent, at least in the San Antonio area, the builders pay the real estate agent's fee. 10 out of 10 times I've never seen a builder not pay a real estate agent's fee, right? So it costs you guys nothing to work with a real estate agent, but not having a real estate agent on your side to represent you and have your best interests in mind could potentially cost you thousands of dollars down the road. So it is always really good to have a real estate agent on your side. And if you need someone here in San Antonio, I'm going to shout myself out again. I've got my contact information below. I have a really good working relationship with a number, if not all of the builders out here in San Antonio. So I'd be more than happy to help guide you and your family through this entire process that I'm about to lay out and make it as super simple and as easy as possible for you guys. And with that, let's go ahead and move right on into the second step here, which is actually choosing the right community and the right builder for that matter for you guys, right? There's a number of different things here for you guys to consider whenever you're trying to decide on a certain community and builder, right? One of the biggest things is, of course, going to be the price point that you're looking at, right? Like if you know, hey, my max budget is about $300,000, then we need to make sure we're not looking at any of the builders that have all of their homes priced at a minimum of like $400,000 or $500,000, because at the end of the day, if we're looking at stuff outside of your budget, we're going to be wasting a lot of time and energy looking at homes that we can't even afford. So having the price point in mind is actually going to help guide us to the right builders, because not all builders, build at different price points. Some builders cater to the lower price point homes, some are right in the middle, and then of course there are others that are at the extreme, luxury, the higher price point homes. So having the price point in mind is going to help us narrow in on some of the builders so that we find the right fit for you. Outside of just the price point, some of the things that you might want to consider is, like, do you need to be in a certain school district, right? If you've got kids that are going to school, maybe you've already researched school districts, or maybe your kids are already in a certain school district and you would like to keep them there. So that will play a factor because, of course, these builders, they have tons of communities all across San Antonio. But not only do they have different schools and school zones that the kids in these various communities will go to, but it's very important, of course, to make sure you have that in consideration if you need to. Also, another big factor on where a lot of people choose to live is their commute time to work, right? Like if you're trying to look on the far west side of San Antonio, for instance, but your work is like downtown or even on the far east side of town, you might have a little bit longer of a commute than if your work is closer to the far west side of town where you're going to reside, right? So, just having that location and understanding commute times and where you're going to need those amenities is going to play a factor as well. Like if hey, I'm really involved in a certain group or activity and this is where they like to meet in the area of town, you might want to make sure it's close so you're not spending a bunch of time, driving back and forth from work and home to all these things that you're trying to get after. So just knowing kind of your price point, your personal lifestyle. So just keeping these few things in mind, such as like your personal lifestyle, the price point, and any other important factors into your daily or weekly lives there is going to be a very important role into kind of choosing a certain community and or builder. Now, once we've kind of narrowed down into the specific community, sometimes these communities have one or more builders in that specific community or the area of town that you're looking in. So once you've kind of narrowed in on the area of town, we're going to actually want to start looking at various builders, right? This is going to be advantageous for a couple of different reasons. Each builder out there, again, they're all different. They all have a number of different floor plans out there. Usually it's about 10 to 12 floor plans. Sometimes it's a little more, sometimes it's a little less. However, these builders do have a number of different floor plans, and looking at them from one builder to the next, they may be all very similar in size, but they're going to feel completely different between the way that they're designed and laid out, because one floor plan might be very nice and open and spacious, but the next one might feel a little bit more cramped. Maybe they have a little bit lower ceiling height, so that 8-foot or 9-foot ceiling isn't going to feel as big and as large as a 9-foot or 10-foot ceiling. Maybe they have a 2-story home with the same amount of square footage as a single story, but that single story, of course, is going to limit your backyard, right? Because the bigger the footprint of the house, bigger the footprint for the single story, obviously the more of the lot that it's going to take up. So there's a number of factors to consider here. Also, walking through the various builders, you're going to get a really good feel for some of the standard features that they have, right? Maybe there's carpet in the bedrooms, maybe they use tile in certain areas of the house, maybe there's granite or quartz countertops. There's different features that each of the builders offer, and sometimes each of these builders have different tiers of homes where there's different standard features in the various tiers. So it's a really good idea to get out there, explore the builders, walk through their homes, and really have a solid feel for the different standard features, incentives, and the layout of all of these homes. And why I mentioned incentives there is because each of the builders will have different incentives, even from the ones next door, right? So one builder may be offering incentives where they cover all of your closing costs and they're buying down an interest rate, but the builder next door might have a little bit less on the incentive side, whether it's one thing or another, or maybe they're offering more. So it's really good to compare and contrast the builders, the incentives, the floor plans, the layouts, and all of this fun stuff right here. So moving right along into the next step here, after we've kind of chosen the community and or the builder we want to look at, the next step is to get pre-approved. Now this step here is pretty crucial because it's going to help us solidify our budget here as well as the price point to be looking at. Now I know it's a little bit backwards, someone telling you to go look at some homes and kind of explore before getting pre-approved, but it's a little bit different here in the new construction space with how things work. See, a lot of the builders here will offer things such as incentives to you guys, and they'll say, hey, we're going to be, offering cover all of your closing costs, and we're going to be buying down your interest rate, and we'll give you this and that and all sorts of things. But what they don't really tell you up front is the fact that to get all of those incentives and beautiful things that they're offering to us, you actually have to work with one of their preferred lenders. Most of the time, one of their preferred lenders is a mortgage company that is part of the umbrella of companies for that builder. So if we're looking at ABC Builder, this ABC Builder is also going to have ABC Mortgage and ABC Title Company, and they want everything to keep in-house so that you can get those incentives and work with them, right? So most of the time you have to use one of the preferred lenders. However, sometimes we are actually able to negotiate some, if not all of the same incentives by using your outside lender or your own preferred lender, right? So not every time will that be the case. Sometimes the incentives are not as great if you want to use your own lender, but at the end of the day, you do have that ability to use whichever lender you find out there. And if you want some recommendations, I do have a lot of recommendations for third-party lenders that are all very good and have worked with me on several other folks in the past that I've worked with. So they're all very good out there. But let me digress a little bit here, because I do recommend, even though that you may end up working with the builder's preferred lender, it is always a good idea to have a few comparisons and get a few quotes and pre-approvals from other lenders out there, right? Sometimes one lender may be able to offer you lower fees or better terms on the mortgage compared to another lender, so it may be advantageous for you to work with a third-party lender and maybe not get as much incentives. It really just depends on how everything looks. Most of the time though, it is actually in your best interest to work with the builder's preferred lender because you will get the most incentives and reduce your overall out-of-pocket expenses. So I say that knowing that we're most likely going to be working with the builder's lender, and if you don't know what builder you're going to be working with ahead of time, that pre-approval isn't quite necessary until you've already kind of chosen that builder and decided to move forward with a particular house. So with that, the pre-approval of course is a very big and important step, and so I wanted to touch on that a little bit as it is a very vital part of the process here. But so with that, let's get on into some more of the next steps here in the process. All right, so step number 4 here is actually a big important step as well, but this is where all of the fun and excitement begins in the construction process. Now here in this step is going to be a lot of selections, right? You're going to be selecting your house, the lot, and any upgrades and options that you are able to choose from the builder. So let's get on into it, but there are a couple of paths here that I'm going to be talking about because it can be one of 2 different avenues starting right here in this step. See, a lot of folks that I end up working with end up buying an inventory home because they need to move in the next 30 to 90 days usually. So inventory homes are ones that the builder decides to go ahead and start building, and they choose all of the design options, whether it's the structural changes, the interior finishes, the exterior finishes, and even the lot that they build on. So with inventory homes, you have very little say, if absolutely any say. Most of the time you have no say in what they do to that house. Whatever they build is basically what you're going to get. Usually with inventory homes too, they also have the better deals across the board, and usually there's nothing wrong with them. They usually choose some really good design features and elements in these houses, and depending on the builder, there are no design choices to choose from anyways, as they build all of the homes the exact same and maybe just have a few different interior packages. So just know that there are inventory homes, and that's what most of the folks I work with end up going with, but there's also the other option of a dirt build. Now with the dirt build, this is where you have a lot more flexibility and creativity with the house, and it really also depends on the builder, right? Some builders don't allow dirt builds, they only sell inventory homes, but when you get into the semi-custom and fully custom builders in the San Antonio area, this is where you get to do some of the dirt build and really, again, get your creative juices flowing and kind of find the house and build the house that you want. So with the dirt build, of course, you get to choose the lot that you would like, you get to choose the floor plan to fit on it. Then after you choose all that fun stuff, you will get to go out there and work with the design center and make any structural changes that they'll allow you to do. You'll get to choose all of the interior finishes, the exterior finishes, and then after you've made all of those selections, then the construction process will start and continue on from there. With both inventory homes and the dirt builds, again, you get to choose from the available lots and floor plans. However, with the inventory homes, you don't have any say in what they build, so you're just choosing from what's available, right? So if you like a particular floor plan and they don't have any available, well, we may need to go look at another community or wait for that builder to have one that is coming available in the near future. Now, sometimes, and most of the time rather, a lot of the builders do have a number of inventory homes available, usually anywhere between 1 to 5 of a certain floor plan available at any given moment. So inventory homes, you do have some choice there. It's just not as much as a dirt build. However, with the inventory homes, of course, they usually are available in the next 30 to 90 days, depending on the stage of construction we find them in, whereas a dirt build is going to take anywhere from 4 to 12 months to complete. So if you're on a short time frame, inventory homes are usually the way to go, whereas if you have more flexibility, more time, also, the dirt build house is probably going to be a good option for you guys out there. So whether you're building a dirt build or buying an inventory home, once you've found the lot and home for you and your family's needs, the next step in the process is actually to sign the purchase agreement and submit any earnest money deposits. Each builder is going to have their own specific contract out there. Usually they're all very similar, but they all are very different, and they're written by someone who represents the builder, so they usually have the builder's best interest in mind. So as a real estate agent, I'm here to help look over those contracts, make sure everything looks good for you guys and has everything, again, that was agreed to initially in there in the form of incentives, the lot, the house, all the fun stuff. So we'll look over the contract. Once all parties have signed it, then you are officially under contract for the house. However, there's one more step that you guys need to do. After signing this contract with the builder, the next step is to submit the earnest money deposit. And an earnest money deposit is just a good faith deposit that you are going to move forward with the builder and work with them. Typically, an earnest money deposit in the San Antonio area is anywhere between $1,000 to $5,000, depending on the builder and the house that you're going. Sometimes with these semi-custom and fully custom builders, if you're making a lot of structural changes or a lot of design upgrades when it comes to like the flooring and the cabinets, the countertops, all that fun stuff that you get to choose later on in the process, usually they'll ask for even more deposits on top of the earnest money deposit. I have seen some builders ask for half of the the upgrade options. So if you're going into a house and you're making, $60,000 worth of design and structural changes to the house, they're going to ask for an additional $30,000 from you guys, just to kind of, make sure you guys have some skin in the game and, don't say, hey, go build this house the way I want it, and then, leave and run off. And now the builder's stuck with trying to sell a house that maybe not everyone is going to want to go after. So just keep in mind that the earnest money deposit is just to secure the house, along with a signed contract there that will officially take the house off the market and keep it in your name so that no one else can buy that lot and or that house from you guys. Also, just know that additional, deposit for the design upgrades and stuff is only going to be dependent upon the builder and if you actually are making any of those changes. So once you've signed that contract and submitted that earnest money deposit, that house and lot is officially going to be yours once the process and stuff goes, so no one else can take that house from you guys. All right, so before we move into the next step, just a little recap of what we've already done so far in the build process. We've gotten a pre-approval, we've looked at various builders and chosen a builder we want to work with, we've chosen the lot and the floor plan we would like to do, we've signed a contract and even submitted our earnest money deposit. So with all of that hard work already out of the way, this is where the build actually starts to take place. So the next step in the process is actually the construction process of the house. All right, so with an inventory home, again, the construction timeline is a little bit different than those dirt builds. Typically, again, these inventory homes are about 30 to 90 days, plus or minus some time, depending on when we find that house and what stage of construction it's in at that time. But a dirt build, again, will take anywhere between 4 and 12 months, depending on the builder and, the size of the house there. So there's a few factors, again, on that timeline with the construction process. During the construction process, it's a little bit more hands-off during this time because there's not as much for us to do, right? Typically, a construction manager for the builder will be in constant communication with us. If you're working with me, I'll give you weekly updates on the progress of your house as well. The construction manager and myself will be providing pictures and updates and just giving you all sorts of information that you may need to know about as far as the progress when it comes to the construction process. And even along the way of the construction process, there may be some ability and some time for you guys to do an inspection on the house. And you may be thinking, well, this house is already under construction. Well, why am I going to get it inspected? Well, first off, you do have the ability to get up to 3 different inspections on the house depending on whenever you find it, right? If you're building a dirt build house, you will have the opportunity to do all 3 phase inspections. And depending on the phase of construction you find the house on an inventory home, you may have access to all 3 or maybe just 1 or 2 of them, right? So let me touch on the 3 different phase inspections that you have available to you, right? So the first phase inspection is going to be a slab or a foundation inspection. This is done before they pour the concrete. So the inspector is going to go out there, look at the rebar and the fill and how they've designed the foundation just to make sure everything is good to go. Of course, this is an important one if you're able to do it because it's going to look at the slab foundation and make sure everything is good before they pour that concrete and it dries up, right? After that, the next inspection is a pre-drywall inspection. So this is done after they've already framed up the house, all of the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC is installed into the walls and everything. And with this, the inspector is going to look at all of the framing of the house, make sure everything is squared away and looks good to go. They're going to be looking at the plumbing, make sure it looks good and protected. Same thing with the electrical and the HVAC. So you're going to make sure that everything, before they put up the drywall looks great, because once the drywall goes up, it's going to be very difficult and even, costly to get all of those things looked at and or repaired if there's something that needs to be caught. Most of the time, a lot of the folks that I work with sometimes get the pre-drywall inspection, but most of the time they only get to do the 3rd inspection, which is going to be the final inspection. So the final inspection is once the house is 100% complete with construction, the construction manager will say, hey, go ahead and do the final home inspection on it if you'd like. And of course, the home inspector is going to go out and look at all of the available systems and components. They're going to test the electrical, the plumbing, the HVAC, look at everything, the roof, the foundation, all that fun stuff, and just give you a solid report at the end of it. Now, if there's anything that's found during any one or all of these inspections, depending on how many you're able to do, the builder will be able to fix these and remedy them before, the construction progresses to the next step of the process there. So just know that, if anything is found to be, in some sort of deficiency by the inspector, the builder will correct these items beforehand. And, even on the final 3rd inspection there, they'll fix these items before you guys close on it and make the home yours. All right, so moving right along into the next step of the process. This next step is done once construction is already completed with the house. So step number 7 here is to have a new home orientation, a final walkthrough, as well as a blue tape walk. And these, again, are done after construction is complete or usually within a couple of weeks of closing at this point. So typically the new home orientation and the blue tape walk are done together. At this point, we're going to be meeting with the construction manager and walking through the house. This construction manager is going to be pointing out all of the major systems and components of the house and teaching you how to take care of the house and operate various things within the house, right? They'll show you where the water heater is and how to adjust the temperature as needed. They'll show you how to drain it and take care of it. They're going to be showing you the HVAC system and how to change the air filter, where the air filter is located, and just everything else about the house that you may need to know about so that you are a knowledgeable homeowner and can take good care of your house and make sure it lasts a long time without having any major issues. After the new home orientation is complete, at this point, we'll usually walk through the house again with the construction manager with a lot of blue tape in hand, and we'll be marking any things that we see. Typically at this point, we'll be marking anything that we see that are cosmetic defects or things that appear to need to be fixed, right? We've already had the home inspection, and so the report at this point is already given to the construction manager, and they're working on those inspection report items, if any. But with the blue tape walk, we're there again to look at any cosmetic defects and just make sure that the house is up to your standard. So again, these two things are typically done about 2 weeks or so prior to closing so that the builder has a little bit more time to correct any issues that come up during the blue tape walk and finish those things that were found on the inspection report. Once all of these things are done, usually the day of, if not the day before closing happens, we're going to do a final walkthrough. This final walkthrough is important because again, we will be meeting with the construction manager, but at this point, we will be making sure that everything on the inspection report is taken care of, all of the blue tape items were taken care of, and if there's anything else that we relay to the builder rep of, hey, can you fix this or what about that? Just make sure that everything that is agreed to, be completed is completed and corrected at this point, because what we don't want to happen here is to ask the builder to correct some things, and then when we get to closing day or move into the house, then they don't have these items completed, because then it's a little bit more of a hassle. So this final walkthrough is very important to have done the day before or the day of closing. All right, so now that you have the keys and you are the homeowner, this should be the end of the process, right? But there is actually one final step to go through, and this is actually the final step in the process, which is to move into the house, follow up with the construction manager, and maintain any warranty items. So let's go on to the final step here. So of course, moving in is, doing on your own timeline there. Once you have the keys, you're able to move into this house and make it your home. Not every builder will do this, but some of them will have a 30 to 45 day follow-up after closing. So just keep this top of mind in case this does come up with a construction manager. Now, outside of this, you do have a warranty with the house that you buy. In San Antonio, typically you're going to have a 1, 2, and 10 warranty, and the 1, 2, and 10 is how many years those items are covered under warranty, right? So year 1, you can think of it kind of like a bumper to bumper warranty on a car. If anything goes wrong in the house and breaks, it will be covered under warranty with some exceptions, right? Typically, landscaping isn't covered because if you don't, water your yard or the trees that they provide you, that's going to be on you because they'll provide that, a couple days before closing or maybe even a few days after. But it is your responsibility, of course, to take care of the landscaping. Now, other things they don't cover are usually cosmetic things after closing. So if you are moving furniture and you put a hole into the wall, they won't fix that. However, if an outlet isn't working or the HVAC, stops working, or maybe, something else with the house, goes wrong or stops functioning properly, you can submit these warranty items to the warranty department and they will fix it under the first year. Now, one thing I do like to recommend here though, on the 1-year warranty is to have a third-party inspector come out on month like 10 and a half or 11 to do another inspection on your house and identify any deficiencies that have arisen. At this point, you've owned the house for almost a year, so you've gone through at least a couple of the seasons here, whether it's cold and hot, to kind of really stress the house and see what may go wrong. At this point too, you can have time to get that third-party inspection done and get that report submitted to the builder again under the warranty so that you can have any new deficiencies addressed again before that warranty is up. And as you're living through the house, I would recommend keeping a list of items that kind of go wrong or aren't working, especially if they're not, very impactful to your daily life, right? Like if they're smaller, more minor things that you can live with for a little bit of time, wait until closer to the end of that first year to submit those items as well, so you don't have to worry about coordinating time with the different contractors and warranty reps to come in and out of your house to take care of those items. So if they're bigger ticket items like the HVAC that needs to be addressed ASAP, of course, get that addressed as soon as possible, because you can't live in Texas without an AC during the summertime. So that is the first year warranty. Once that is up, then you have your 2 and your 10-year warranty still. The 2-year warranty will cover all of the systems that is kind of hidden behind the drywall, right? So the electrical, plumbing, and HVAC systems, those will be covered for 2 years. And then after that, you have your 10-year warranty, and that covers all the structural items such as your roof, the foundation, and the structural walls for your house. So that is the general warranty that we see out there. Some builders have additional years of warranty in there depending on what it may be, and some have a little bit less, but we'll ask the builder to make sure that you understand the full warranty that you are going to be provided with before you even commit to purchasing that house. All right, so this is officially the last and final step in the process. So I hope that you found this information valuable, and just please know it doesn't have to be overwhelming. As long as you understand and know what to expect ahead of time, it will make things a lot smoother and simpler. And if you happen to have any additional additional questions about buying a new construction house or the process itself, or if you just like some help in finding a new construction house and making it as smooth and as simple as possible, do not hesitate to give me a phone call, shoot me a text, or give me an email. I've got all my contact information down below for you, and I would love to hear from you guys. Now, thank you so much for sticking around. If you haven't already, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, like the video, and while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you'll be the first to know about another video I post out there about buying a new construction house or living right here in San Antonio. So with that, thank you one final time. I hope you have an incredible day, and I can't wait to talk to you guys soon.